Thank you for joining me. For the people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are outside of work.
Oof. Okay. For anybody that doesn't know me, I consider, especially as a recently myself, father first. That just has a little bit to do with the fact that I just had a baby. But who am I? That's a really good question. I consider myself as an immigrant. That's an important part of my identity, especially considering everything going on right now. And a husband, a son, but just a chill guy, I guess. I don't know. There's don't want to go any deeper than that, but just like running, identify with that. And Yeah, I have a lot of career aspirations, and I like to really think of myself as a good leader.
Awesome. Where did the running thing start? Because that's a big part of
Mm,
who you are. Yeah, you've been trying to coach me through it, and I will be doing a half marathon. Michelle,
Mark
you
that.
heard me. Yeah, write that down. Yeah, we're documenting it today. By the end of the year, I will be doing one. But what's like you mentioned early days that you get a lot of inspiration from it. You have some of your deepest thoughts through it. Like, where did that start? Did you just go on a run one day? You're like, I really like this. Were you like following someone's footpaths? I'm a little bit curious.
No, actually, most of it came from just trying to look for it as a form of stress relief.
Mm,
So growing up, household, just kind of a toxic household to my parents, and so that was kind of my getaway. And I think where it really stuck was just I found a lot of relief in going out and getting away from the house and just going on long runs, and it just stuck. I think I started really getting serious about running back in 2016. And I mean serious as in like I was actually keeping track of things.
mm,
But yeah, it's been a great stress reliever. And then once you start doing it, you'll see this. Once you start doing it, it gets addicted.
mm.
And it's one of those things where it gets to I want to do it more, and you push yourself to the next boundary, and you push yourself to the next boundary. It doesn't even become a it doesn't even become a fitness thing. It becomes more of a mental endurance part. And whatever you can accomplish as far as you can go there, you tell yourself and you kind of use it towards if I can do those things, I can do so many other things in life. I've actually leaned on that a lot whenever I found myself to be in a difficult position. I think to myself, I've ran 31 miles nonstop.
Mm.
How am I going to get
Yeah.
through this?
Nice. That's awesome. You mentioned your childhood. Tell us a little bit what that was like. Specifically, maybe some of the early day stuff, and then you transitioned into high school. Were you like a jock, a dweeb,
Mm,
a nerd? Were you a cheerleader? Like,
But what was going on
yeah.
there? Catch us up a little bit.
No, man. I think high school, I really didn't. If I had to tell you, I wasn't popular. I had my circle. But man, it's just one of those things where I went to a big high school at the time,
Mm,
Duncanville. That's where I went to school. And so I graduated '08, and I was one of the largest schools at the time. So there's so much going on. I played football. I always like to say I didn't really play. I was on the team, and I was on the practice squad basically.
yeah.
But it helped me a lot discipline-wise. I actually have to say that I credit a lot of my time in sports to the way I think because I had really good, great actual mentorship with coaches, accountability.
Mm,
One conversation that sticks out at me was going into senior year. You can ride basically the JV wave, sophomore team wave, but in order to stay on varsity, you got to be at least some kind of asset.
yeah.
And my junior year, closing out my junior year, I remember had a conversation with myself and a few others. He was just like, "You guys either got to get better, or we're gonna cut you." And he told me, he's like, "You're slow, like you are slow. Like you're really smart with all." I played a receiver, so I knew the playbook really well, but athletically, never been super gifted. I spent that entire summer running bleachers and working out and doing as much as I could just to stay on the team. And while I didn't play, I don't think I ever played it down, to be honest with you, on varsity. I think they put me in on the last play of the last game of the season just to like, hey, you got it in there.
Hey, playing time is playing time, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
take it.
sure.
Kind of. So not
Right?
really.
No, not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But
All good though.
the lessons that came from it, right? The
Yeah.
lessons that came from it, where they stood by me for many years to come.
Was that your first form of tough, honest love, like as a young man, outside of like your parents?
Oh yeah,
Was that like the big one?
yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
How'd you know you like tough, honest love?
Mm, that's a really good one. Um, it's not only receiving it but also giving it. I think
Hmm.
that's the mutually kind of mutual relationship there. I guess for me it's important that if I care for someone, I'm responsible for, if I'm their friend, um, I think a lot of it came from my mother. She just, she always stirred us the right way and kind of instilled morals in us. And always from an early age told me, like, you got to speak up, on things. And so she always tells a story. If you get talking to her enough about me, she'll tell a story about how, I guess when I was a little kid in kindergarten, a teacher used to tell the kids to shut up. And somehow it came up that she got onto me, and then they called my mom into it, and basically, long story short, they found out that I was defending another kid, right, just standing up for them. It's one of those things that if you see something, say something. Um, and I just consider myself to be that kind of friend that if I feel like you're slacking, I should be a good enough friend to tell you, right? And the same thing goes in leadership, right? If you care for people and you want the best for them, you can't appease when they're doing wrong. If you really call yourself a friend, or if you really call yourself a leader. And as it goes, it comes, right? And so if you're willing to dish it, you have to take it too. And because of that situation, I think a big part of it was I should receive it, because every time that I've gotten something like that, it's made me so much better.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that too, where, tough, honest love is also saying, hey, listen, I'm willing to upset you. I'm willing to even potentially lose you as a friend or a family member, as a business partner. But I care about you so much that I'm willing to compromise and put that all to the side, because hopefully at the end of this, you turn out better,
Yeah.
even if I gain nothing from it. And that's the big thing about tough, honest love that I think most people don't understand. Like, they don't comprehend it, because most people think being a good friend is just by making your friends feel good. And that's not the truth. It couldn't be further from the truth. So I'm with you 100% there. So let me ask you one other question about your past, and then we'll shift gears, okay? If someone from your past, right, saw you today, from your childhood, what would surprise them the most about you?
Oof, childhood.
Yeah, and we can go middle school, high school. What's the thing that you think right now would surprise them the most? Like, damn, Eddie, really? What would that thing be?
Man, I don't know. That's actually a really good question that I never thought about. Um, and I guess it depends. Just I never really keep up too much with the past in that sense. And I think it may be one of those like gimmicky things to say, that you don't care what people say about you or think about you, because we all do to a certain extent,
We do.
right? But as far as what would surprise them, is that the question? What would surprise them
Yeah.
about me now?
Yeah, like for the people that knew you at a younger age, 12, 14, 16, graduating, in a lot of schools, they did the whole, like, most will be most successful, will be most this, right? Like, so people certainly had some sort of perception of who you may have been. What do you think would surprise them the most today, based off where you're at and who you are as a man?
I can't say that anything comes to mind.
No?
Maybe that's
Okay.
not the greatest answer, but I just can't. I don't know. I have not really given that too much thought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, maybe it comes to you before we finish the
Yeah.
interview, and maybe not.
It
It's
might.
okay. Yeah. So it's a good one to think about, right? Because it's probably in direct proportion with the amount of accelerated growth you probably had over the course of the years. So,
Actually, what would you say that answer to that question might be for you?
what would surprise people the most? Man, that's a lot. If I go into who I was in middle school, high school, I was a big time slacker. I barely got by. I cheated a ton and just looked over people's notes, and got caught, trying to figure out the vocabulary words that I couldn't memorize. So who I was back then, I did not look like I had a very positive trajectory versus who I am today. Like, I take my vocabulary very serious, something I got busted for. I remember having it in my hand, and I thought I was so slick, and I swear I saw the teacher go this way, but I think she reverse Uno'd me. And like really like took one step there just to come back around, and I felt someone like just tap me on the shoulders, and I was like, and I looked up, and it was her, and I was like, how does she? And she like opens up my hand, and there's like the whole cheat code, and I'm like, damn! In front of the whole class, it was embarrassing.
Wow.
So my high school, my final year in high school, I sat alone for lunch every single day. A lot of people don't know this. Every single freaking day, I hated it. I moved like my final year of school. So I had no friends, and truthfully, I didn't want to assimilate. I was just pissed. So that guy versus the man that I am today, I would bet money if you would have asked anyone who did like their final years in school with me, would not have said I'd become any what successful, that I'd be speaking up on stage, that I'd be, a leader of men and women, I could go on and on.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that'd probably be my answer.
Good answer. Definitely can't relate, I gotta say.
Yeah,
I
all
can't
good.
relate.
All good.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So catch us up a little bit. All right, so we got your childhood down. Awesome, beautiful. Tell us a little bit about before joining Blue Hammer. Like, give us a little bit of a rundown. Like, what was that history like? Because I met you in the restaurant business, right? And yeah, walk us through it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. 17 years in the food and beverage hospitality industry. Got into it just by, it wasn't even intentional. In fact, I'll tell you kind of how it started. In high school, as I was starting to get, a little bit more freedom from my parents, my mom actually started letting me take the car out. But she worked as a banquet server and at a hotel, and so she'd let me have the car as long as I basically dropped her off to work. And I remember one day going back to pick her up. And so as I'm waiting to pick her up, she still was not done. And so I go inside and, I'm just hanging out. But I saw there was a lot to be done. And at that time, banquet serving is just a lot of setup and breakdown. And so I saw, they were understaffed and they just needed to pick up chairs so we can all go home. So I figured, you know what? Let me go ahead and pick up some chairs and stack some chairs. So I just picked up a dolly, started picking up chairs, started moving them to when they needed to go. The banquet server, the banquet captain came out. And he was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, like I'm 16, 17 years old. So I'm like, Maria's son. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, just trying to explain myself. I was like, "Okay, so if you want to help, come back tomorrow." And that kind of started the thing. A little bit of just, I hate to sit still, right? And really just that got me into it. That led to a job in a restaurant, Matt Rancho Martinez in Cedar Hill. That job led me to, the nightlife industry. That nightlife industry then led me to restaurants. Restaurants led me to fine dining. Fine dining then became, running multiple different restaurants at the time. It's a long history, 17 years, but I've done it all. I've done my own catering events. I've catered my own events as a bartender myself. I've also organized, teams for large events. And just kind of like catering parties and things of that nature. Funded it myself, just a lot. I've learned so many different things. And I guess that's kind of where I got to the point where I feel like I had done everything I possibly could besides ownership. Get into a position of a director, managing multiple restaurants, just kind of working hand in hand with the vice president, and then that vice president had an owner. That was for a good amount of time. I just felt like, what, I've lost a little passion for it. Great timing happened. We'd known each other for at least a year. Never really thought of it. I never really saw you as someone that I was like, I'd be willing, to work with, or not for
Appreciate
any bad
the
reason.
kind words. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Not so much
This
for
interview's over. But,
not so much for anything other than the fact that you seem like a cool guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, roofing, not my thing.
Yeah.
And to be quite
Same.
honest with you, I really didn't think too much of it. I remember I was like, who's this guy? I looked you up on social media.
Yeah.
And I think your social media spoke to me more about leadership than it really did about roofing. And that's when things came about, that's what really hooked me on to the opportunity to come here.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I remember distinctly, and this is when I made my decision that at some point we'd work together. Not that it's my decision to make, but let me rephrase that. I made the decision that I was going to at some point offer you a position with us, and I'll tell you when it was, because I'll never forget it. It was the first time I met you. So I went in with my lady at the time, and we walked in. We didn't have reservations. It was a busy evening, and we just try to figure it out. It was like maybe it's like 8 p.m. on a Saturday. You guys were stacked, and the girls at the front desk weren't quite getting me what I wanted, which was just a table. So anyways, I looked around the room. I was like, all right, here's my lady. Like, we're not gonna do this and like not figure this out. So I find you. You're dressed sharp. You're in a suit, and I'm like, all right, this guy looks like he's gonna make something happen. So I come talk to you, and I give you the whole rundown. I was like, hey, here's where we're coming from. Here's what's going on. It's just my lady and I. We'd appreciate it if it's possible to get sat down. And within like seconds, you had a really good response. You're like, okay, perfect. Let me figure this out real quick. You ran. You're like, hey, hang tight. Can I get you a drink at the bar? Whatever. It came back. All right, guys, got you a table. And throughout that evening, you kept coming by, offering drinks. Hey, come try this, come try that, and all the rest of it. And I was like, he gets it. He really gets it. He understands people. He understands service. He understands. And surely there was a piece of it where you were probably able to read the situation and, her and I and the dynamics. And you're like, yeah, I feel like this is probably a good investment of some capacity. Don't know exactly. Maybe not. So anyways, I saw you do that. And I remember talking to her and I was like, he's really good. I really like him. She's like, yeah, he's awesome. And I'm talking in a way where it's like, yeah, we're coming back. And then I kept coming back for a good year, and I'd go dine at all your restaurants at the time. So you're in a good, favorable role. And matter of fact, when I first met you, you were only running one restaurant. And then that led to you running multiple restaurants. So, which is a great position to be in. So leads me to my next question. And you've kind of answered it. But what was the biggest reason you decided to take the risk to come join us? Because it is a risk.
Yeah.
A lot of risk.
Yeah.
Especially in an industry you don't know. And it's so far from what you've been doing, right? Service, hospitality, nightlife, roofing. Why take that big of a risk?
Yeah. I think the greater risk is regret. I think oftentimes we think about like, hey, risking and losing, but I've always thought to myself that if I would regret doing something, it would be a bigger pain. The bill of regret is greater than that of like losing something. And as you mentioned, I kind of got to the point, I mentioned it earlier, I got to the point where I was like, hey, there's not a lot more here to do. There's always, that kind of like thing where it's
you
like,
feel like you capped out there? Like you completed the mission, so to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt so. I felt like
I get that,
felt like I could reach as much as I could. Look, there was very talented people that were ahead of me. I will say that.
Sure.
Great people to this day that in their fact, like what they had going on and the way the company is structured, there were paces and places. But for what my passion is, I just felt like we'd capped. And this. I mean, it took several conversations, just a couple, and it could,
Six.
and it was never really. You were
Who's
counting?
Yeah, who's counting?
Wow, I lost track. But
I did it.
big move, right? Big move.
Yeah.
I was in a safe spot. I was not only in a safe spot professionally, but also I worked with my mentor.
Yeah.
Right. I worked with someone that I knew that if I just continue to go along with the mission, that I'd be good. But I've never been one to just be good, right?
Yeah.
And I've never been one to just want to say, hey, I want to play it safe. And I've never been one to just say, you know what, I want to be handed something. And not that ever it was handed to me, but if I want more, I feel like I should go out and reach for more. And so while there was, some enticing offers there to continue to go down that route, I knew that I would, with loss of passion, I knew that I wouldn't be able to survive really long. Because once you've lost that passion, what happens? It's like you see yourself kind of, this performance begins to go down.
For sure.
And I saw that in myself in that situation. I was just no longer the same guy. And timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
Timing is everything. My life changed a whole lot, towards like the end of 2024, going into 25. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. And it was time. And like I mentioned before, I did my due diligence, and I really thought it through, maybe a little too long, but I checked it out.
Do you remember the sixth conversation?
Was that the sixth conversation? You mean at the coffee shop?
At the coffee shop.
Yeah. It was some tough, honest love.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good conversation. We don't need to go into all the specifics of it, but it was good because we were at that La La Land in Addison or whatever that North Dallas area is. And I remember meeting you, and I was like, and I told myself before I walked in, just so you know, I was like, this is the last time I'm meeting with this guy. And at this point, it's on him. Like, I'm not, because I don't want to like push someone too much. And I do believe it should be your decision, not because of me, right? Like I don't like big decisions like that being made, or pressure. Good pressure is peer pressure is good. Too much, desperate. So, anyways, I remember walking. I was like, I just gotta let him know what's up. I really do. And I was like, I'm gonna hear him out. But at the end of the day, like I have to get across what I gotta get across. And if he takes it well, awesome. He may join. If he doesn't, well, wasn't meant to be. And I remember going in. Do you remember what some of the final words
Oh
were
yeah,
to you?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. Would you like to share them?
you can share them. Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, I think it may come a little better coming from you. You don't have to be verbatim, but maybe it'd be better for at least from what you remember.
This is a trademark, I think, phrase, and I don't want to butcher it, but it's shit or get off the pot. Basically, it boiled down to that,
Pretty much.
And it was needed. It was needed because, while I had already met with you in Chico multiple times, I'd already kind of like, I'd done my due diligence at that point. I was just holding on to something of like the fear, right? The fear of what if.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that specifically.
Yeah. What was, and I'm glad you joined us, just for the record.
It's working out, I think.
Yeah, all right. What you said the fear of what if. I want to dig in.
Mm-hmm.
What was the main fear? Like what were you afraid of the most? I understand the what if. I do,
Yeah.
but like what was it new industry, new people, new everything? I got a family to take, what was the, or was it just the fear of discomfort? What was one thing? And I know it's probably more than one, but what was the number one thing that you were afraid of?
Failure. Yeah. Just not knowing it, and it was just a lack of, it was a lack of belief in myself at the time, and thinking to myself that I couldn't transfer over the talents that I have in this industry to the next one. But oftentimes is what holds us back, right? It's like, what if I fail? But through a little bit of encouragement and then kind of thinking to myself, well, what if I fail? If I fail, I just, continue to go on. If that doesn't work out, then great. You know what? I know one thing, I'm not going back. But I'd much rather actually go and fail than to sit where I'm at, because where I'm at, I'm just not fulfilled. And the reminder of the fact that we're all going to go at some point in time. We're all going to die. Sometimes, we don't even know when. Actually, we never know when. And so you might as well go out and do what scares you a little bit, rather than sitting still kind of in a crystal box and just being away from what I really think life is about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a very good answer. I think we're a lot of us are in that boat. I was with the same company for 10 years, and the fear of failure is a real thing, especially when you're switching over to something to work with people and do things you have no idea what it's going to be, right? Because everyone portrays a certain image on the outside, but when you get in, sometimes it's not quite the same, right? Again, happy you made it. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. Now you're here. You've started with us. I got a question. When did you realize that this job was going to be, this career path was going to be one that pushes you?
Oh, there's been multiple, situations. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one that pinpoints me, but that I can pinpoint. There's a different caliber of people around here, right? Iron sharpens iron. And so I'm a big believer in who you surround yourself with, you become.
Yeah.
And stage by stage coming around, I remember feeling so intimidated in the beginning because I was like, man, these people are sharp. Across the board, I was like, okay, these people are sharp. They're disciplined. It took a little bit for me to kind of get out of my comfort zone, because if you know enough about the industry, you know that it has it's very polarized. It has its difficult moments, where it's this high level, high stress, but then it also has very much moments where you can kind of lay back, and a lot of bad habits in the industry, right? And again, when you get to a certain point, you also get to the point where you're you're given a lot of autonomy. And so career-wise, I felt like I was out of shape where I was coming out of. Believe it or not, I felt like, I wasn't at my top shape career-wise at that point, because I had copped out and I'd already kind of began to go into a slight decline.
Yeah.
You didn't know that, but maybe so, maybe you did. I don't know.
Sure,
you
I
saw
did,
me
yeah.
slacking a couple of times. So with that being said, when I came in, I just saw a different pace.
Yeah.
And I could tell. I was like, I gotta step my shit up. I got to really step my shit up here. I can't do the things that I've done in the past. I got to be more disciplined. And, looking back over the last 24, over the last 12 months, I have felt a big, just like, improvement on my side of things.
Awesome. I want to ask about that a little bit. We've got about 20 minutes. So I want to go into like now you're here. I want to talk a little bit about the transformation, okay? And one of the things I had written down is I've personally seen you over the last what is it now? Like 14-ish months, give or take 14, 15 months that you've been here actively. I'm seeing you transform as a person. Physically, just all around. Like and you mentioned it, the people you hang out with, right? Like fitness is a piece of our culture, and amongst other things. What do you think's the thing what's helped you transform the most? Like since joining us here, what's been your biggest transformation since arriving here at Blue Hammer?
Well, I don't know if there's one bigger than the other because there's been so many ones.
How has this job changed you as a person?
This has definitely been a sink or swim situation, where discipline has to be, at the core of what you do. In the beginning, you guys definitely allowed me the opportunity to learn things, and kind of just absorb. But once things began to pick up and, I got some responsibilities, that's where I knew I was like, hey, I got to put my full focus at this. And you have to change your life to be able to do that. You have to cut certain things out. You have to rearrange, your schedule. You have to be disciplined.
Is there something major that you cut off?
Yeah, there's definitely, I've stopped drinking. I've stopped just, I've just lived a cleaner life. That's just the biggest thing about it. That bad habits, there's so many of them. I'm working out more regularly, not just running, but also spending more time in the gym. I'm more present with myself. Yeah, hey. Anyway, but, just more discipline, even in the time that I wake up during the day, the time that I go to sleep, and a big part of also this transition over the last year has been, my family growing. You were the first person actually that knew that I was going to propose to my wife. Because if you remember, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. And then you sent me off to your guy.
Yeah.
And so that was a big part of, it wasn't just a decision to come here. It was a decision to enter a different part of my life. And it's one thing to be the boyfriend. It's one thing to be, in a relationship. It's different when you're a husband. It's different when you're a father.
Did I really like the ring?
She loved it. She really did. Oh, yeah.
We'll ask her Saturday, sir.
You ask her.
And if she doesn't, it wasn't me who referred you as Chico. Okay. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, you're good.
But yeah, please finish.
No, that's really it. Discipline, right? That's the biggest thing. And that's why I've appreciated this so much.
That's awesome. Do you think since the transition, do you think there's been some skills that you've developed here that you didn't have before?
Yeah, most definitely. I think that being a lot more organized, even though I still have ways to go with organization. I'm used to public speaking. I did it on a daily basis, but not at the stage at which we've done it here. Learned a lot about, the roofing industry. I feel like I know a lot more than I did a year ago about roofing. Outside of that, critical thinking's there. I don't know that there's one thing that I can pinpoint and say, it's been so many. That's the answer. It's been so many.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's surprised you the most about being here? Because you had an idea of what Blue Hammer was. You had an idea of, myself, and, you met Chico a couple of times. What's surprised you the most?
Yeah.
Since joining us?
Man, I've said this before, and I've said it in public. When I came around, right, and I got, as you mentioned, a view of what was going on, I was like, I like that. I really like that. I like the culture. I like the people. It checked off all the boxes. And then when I started coming around and I was here already, I was like, man, this feels like a cult, And you go through that mindset of like, what's really going on? But then when you really get past that moment, and that, like, I think it's just like whenever you're growing in any kind of way, there's some resistance by your body, right? Our brain isn't really, meant to help us grow. It's meant to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And so your brain will play, tricks on you.
Yeah.
And so in that transition, I just was thinking to myself, like, what is there's that, like, I think it's maybe fear, but at the same time, you're like, maybe you don't want to believe it. It's too good to be true. Are these people for real? Like, or what they're saying, like, is that for real? But with time, and especially I'll say this. It wasn't just what was said, it was what was said. I was seeing it also being backed up, which I think is super important, right? Because there can be a lot of things that are said.
Yeah.
But you guys, Chico, Maria, yourself, everything that you've said, like, hey, this is what is going to happen. Hey, this is what we're going to do. I know that it's a 50-50. I never put all basically responsibility on somebody else for the things that I want to achieve. So I know I have that responsibility, extreme ownership. But it really came down to, you know what? I see that there is promise here as long as I do what I have to do. Where a lot of places you'll hear that and then it doesn't happen. You hear that and then it just basically it just falls by the wayside. And so follow through for me is important. My wife always tells me that's one of her biggest things, follow through. And so she's helped me grow in that way, but I've seen it here in the company that if you do the right thing long enough with the right intensity, doors will open.
Yeah. And that's something personally I take a lot of pride in, is if we say we're going to do something, we got to do it. Or just don't say it. Don't commit to it. Don't put it out there. All we have is our word at the end of the day, right? Like if I tell you, if Eddie, you do X, Y, and Z, and you follow through and do X, Y, and Z, and I don't hold up my end, immediate trust has been broken. Our relationship will start to suffer from that day and from that day on. I could have just not promised you anything and could have saved the relationship and just be, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and not put a stipulation on it. But as you know, I think we all want something greater than where we start, right? We all want to be a part of something greater than ourselves, and no one wants to be stuck. No one wants to be in the same position forever. And I think a big thing that we've identified and learned early on is we have to create opportunities for folks to move up, make more, do more, and contribute more. And that's been a big piece of who we are here at Blue Hammer. What do you think if someone was curious and they were like, man, I'm interested in joining Blue Hammer? What would you tell them?
Actually, I've had a couple of these conversations. And just like you, one of my biggest things that I like to do with people is let the opportunity speak for itself. If you're thinking about it, come in, sit through one of our Monday meetings. I the same way that I came into it, come in and sit through a leadership meeting. Listen, it's not for everybody. That's the biggest thing. It's truly not. And that's, I think, a good thing for us.
Who is this not for?
Anybody that's not willing to hold themselves accountable. Anybody that really isn't serious about growth. Anybody that just wants to say it but don't actually put in the work. I think it's important that they see, and that's why I'm so passionate about what we do with our culture committee and our leadership trainings and things of that nature, because this environment is not for everybody. It's a great environment, but I'm not a big advocate for just riding the wave, right? Because if we have slackers, then that's the lowest totem pole. That's the weakest link to the chain, and so that's our lowest standard. And as we say, a chain is only strongest as weakest link, right? And so while I like to always have this open door mentality, if you want to, you don't have to come in like the big dog. You don't have to come in the strongest, but I'd like for us to maintain that, you know what? We have a standard, and if you want to come in and maybe you're not where you need to be, it shows that you belong here. Do the work, right? Put in the work, and that itself, we always talk about a case, right? You got the right character, you got the right attitude, you got maybe or maybe not, you don't have the skill set. We can work on that, but as long as you have the effort, and really that open door mentality of saying hey, come and check it out, and a good thorough conversation, understanding what people want out of this, opportunity, super important, because sometimes it's about timing, right?
Yeah.
And I just like to say that if people are serious about it with anything, but particularly good opportunities, you can make the best out of every opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's on you. If you lie to yourself, hey, at the end of the day, that's on you. Don't try to blame it on others. But if you want to come in, you want to do the work, the opportunities here are tremendous.
Yeah, we've been blessed with that, to be in an industry where you can make great money, be around great people, have a good positive influence in your life, and really change the trajectory of your life forever. how many places can you go and get that? People pay for that. People pay to join, groups that give you that kind of raw motivation, inspiration, and being able to rub elbows with the right people. The difference is we pay you to be able to do that, right? You're not paying us. So yeah, it's been a beautiful blessing that we all get to offer to anyone and everyone that's willing to put in the work, like you said. So I got a question for you on that, right? I think one of the things that we all feel is we all want a sense of belonging, right? It's the same reason why young kids join gangs. Like it's blood in, blood out, but they'll do it. Why? Because they want to be a part of something greater than themselves and they want to belong to something, right? People go join the military and knowing that they may damn well, God forbid, die. But they still do it. And a piece of that is because of belonging, being a part of something, saying, I'm a Marine, I'm part of the U.S. Army, whatever. When did you feel like you really belonged here?
It's a really good question. It wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't at the beginning. I felt like a fish out of water in the beginning. I really did.
Yeah. Which is normal.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah. It's like people were welcoming, I'm sure there was some like, who's this guy type of thing into it.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Given the circumstances. When did I feel like I belonged? It took some time. I will say that. Like fully, I'll be honest with you. I think fully, like when I was like, hey man, this is it. Like I'm in it. I'm in the weeds with it. It was when I came back from baby being born. And you threw at me like, hey man, I really think that we need to have this initiative. There's some things that we got to improve on, and this is going to be how we solve for that with the culture committee.
Yeah.
Not to say that I didn't feel like I belonged before, but I felt like I was a little bit more on just one element of the business.
Yeah.
Kind of the behind the scenes of the business. But being put in that position, given that opportunity, really I think is what started getting me in front of more people. And opened up some doors to really kind of begin to build deeper relationships. I'd built some good relationships already,
yeah.
but not in the broad spectrum like with everybody else. And just like Bamboo in the beginning, like I felt like there was a little bit of growth, but then it happened really quickly. And over the last, let's just call 4 to 5 months, I've felt, a lot more in tune with the opportunity and the brand and, so many of the things that come to the people itself because of that.
Yeah. And you've took on a lot. You're our director of ops. You effectively run the culture committee. You put together all of our big events. You deal with, you work with our suppliers. You've worked with our subs. You have to deal with me often a whole lot more now. Chico, Lenny, you got your Black Ops team, Michelle Thomas. Like there's a lot that you're doing. And what's cool is because I get to see the different sides of you. I get to see student you and I get to see teacher you. So I'm seeing the whole thing happen in real time and I'm getting to appreciate. My vantage point is really cool, by the way, because I get to see both sides. Because I know we've talked about this and I know you really love mentorship to and from, right? Why is that so important to you?
It's so important, man. Legacy, right? I think legacy sometimes can be misunderstood, and it's not just about the money that you make. Oftentimes, I think people think to themselves, I want to leave a legacy for their family, right? And we think, wealth, we think house, we think cars, we think these things. But what's really going to outlive us is the impact we make on people. That's what's really going to outlive you, right? And I see it, for example, we're reading this book currently by Bill Walsh, and in it, I kind of came across something that made me think. Every great coach somehow worked under another great coach, and that coach worked under another great coach. That's lineage, now we're thinking generational impact. And so when I think of it, as far as legacy, I'd hope to do well. At the same time, financially, at the same time, I want my grandchildren's children to remember me not for the money I made. That's great because that's going to open up a lot of opportunity. But really for maybe the things that I did and the people that I helped out. And I've been super fortunate, man. That's one of my biggest passions, that I've been super fortunate to not only have great mentorships in the past,
but also to take some people under my wing and help them grow. You know,
Yeah.
guys and gals that just, you know, started off as, and I could identify in them like these people are sharp. They have the right, you know, ingredients in them. They just need somebody to come in and polish a little bit off. And they're
Yeah.
explosive oftentimes, right? Some of the
Yeah.
best people are the ones that are a diamond in the rough. But I really take pride in being able to identify that in people and saying, you know what, like, let's go to work. If you just meet me halfway and maybe go a little bit further, like we're going to go somewhere. And I know for a fact, like there's some people in my career that have helped me get to where I'm at today. But at the same time, I know that I can look back and I can say, okay, that person right there, I remember when they were just, you know, a server or a busser, you know, and through a lot of hard work on their part and a little guidance from me, they're in a much better place. And that to me, that fulfills me.
Yeah, that's beautiful and well said. That's deep. What's on that mentorship note? You got a young guy, young gal seeking advice, right? And I know every situation is nuanced and different advice for different folks, right? But if you had just one piece of advice that's your most universal, applies to every single person, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah.
What would you tell these folks?
It's one that I've myself have become to lean on every single day. Everything in life is perspective. Um, you can't expect to be in control of anything whatsoever. Like that's the crazy thing about life. Like there's nothing that you're in control of. You might think that you're in control of, but at any point in time, everything can be put upside down in the in the blink of an eye. And it's with little things as well as it is with big things. The only thing we're really in control of is our mindset. It's our view on things. Um, there's this book by Viktor Frankl. It's called Men's Search for Meaning. I'm sure you've heard of it. And that was the first time that I really kind of got, you know, a little preview of like a stoic mindset, right? This guy went through the Holocaust, and the only reason he survived, to make a long story short, is because he kept his mind sharp. He told himself, you know, that things weren't as bad as they appeared. And he was able to survive versus other people who ultimately, they were still much healthier than he was. But it's their mind. When your mind goes, in any situation, everything goes in that route, right?
Yeah, it's like the cancer stories, right, that you've heard. It's like the moment someone caved in, gave in to that, ugly, hideous disease, cancer, that's when everything fell apart. But then you hear about these stories where someone was told 5 days and they went 5 years or 15 years, and it's like, what was really the big difference? No doubt God played a part in it, but a lot of it, most scientists and doctors have argued, it's the mentality, right? It's the I'm not giving up 5 days. What? Not me. And it just happiness and family and all these other things that really kept them alive. You hear it, you hear it all the time. So that mentality piece is critical, and it'll change your life forever.
Absolutely. It
Right.
starts with that.
Yeah.
It starts really with that. And that of itself is when you're able to take control, right? It's a victim mentality versus a victor mentality. Which one do you want to have?
Yeah.
Something happens, it happens to you, it happens to everybody else. Anything that you think may be going wrong in your life, someone else has gone through it, overcome it. The only difference is what did they do about it, right? And I think that's what ultimately gets you thinking and opens up your eyes and your mind to so many different possibilities.
Yeah.
And that's when I really think you begin to be in control of your life. Whenever you really say, okay, you know what? I can't control everything, but I can control my mind. I can control how I react to it and do something about whatever circumstances I'm being dealt.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's shift gears for a second because we got to start wrapping this thing up. I got a couple final questions for you, okay? Listen, you're the director of ops. You're taking on some big challenges. You're doing a lot of things. I think one of the best things everyone can do is always continuously set good targets and, hey, here's what I'm going for next. I think it's also super critical to appreciate where you're at and take it all in, because once you get to that next level, you'll never be able to have the same, scenario, the same experiences. The more you continue to grow, the more you continue to level up, good or bad. Good or bad. So my question for you is, you're in a good spot right now. You've got a bunch on your plate. What are you chasing next?
The most immediate thing that comes to my mind is one of my big goals for Blue Hammer, my time at Blue Hammer, is I want to make this the best place to work at, right? That's something I'm super passionate about. And we are so fortunate to have great people, behind us. And that's been a huge initiative, because I think it starts with that. It starts with people. If we take care of our people, and that's something in alignment that I knew that in coming here, I was going to the right place. The last place I was at, we had similar philosophies. As long as you take care of your people, the rest of it takes care of itself, right? When that's not in place, you're barking up the wrong tree. You can say it,
Yeah.
but if you don't mean it, and people can tell, then you're not going to have the same results. And so when we invest in our people, when we invest in the right environment, when we invest in the right mentorship, when we invest in the right tools and resources for them to continue to grow, and also when we look at bringing in great talent like we have, we're positioning ourselves to accomplish anything. The business itself is going to bring what the business itself does always. Could we and do we have opportunities of being more organized, more streamlined, more structured? 100%, right? Every business, as it grows and it scales in the way we're going, it's going to go through those growing pains, and we're going to continue to have them. But at the bottom line, I think what's fundamentally important is that we have the right people in the right seats and that they're ready to go. And if they're not engaged because they don't think like we care, then ultimately they're not going to give us the same, right? And so
Yep.
I think it's so important for us to always continue to drive the point of investing into them with our leadership trainings, with different events, initiatives, community service. There's so many different ways to engage people. So I think if we continue to do that and grow people that way, there's so much more to do, but that's the first thing. Um, Also, just obviously there's the growth that we have to do and integration with the platform, and there's opportunities there, right? We have to continue to grow and facilitate communication and bring both sides more together and kind of get on the same page. It's part of the growth part of it, right? Like there's a lot of moving pieces in the implementation of different systems, and as you begin to grow, you can't just think that, hey, what works for this one will work for that one. And so I enjoy conflict resolution. I really do. I like resolving things. I'll tell a quick story because I know we're limited on time, but I've said the story before. My dad taught me hard work, right? He's a construction worker. He's a welder. And he was growing up, he would get up before the sun came up, and he would be coming home oftentimes way after, right? Beat up. Like I'm talking this guy, small guy. You've seen my dad. He's a small dude. I don't know how I got so tall. Don't
Good
joke
dude.
around. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, at the end of the day, man, I remember talking to him, and I was like, man, why do you do it? Like, how do you? And he's older. He's still in construction to this day.
Yeah.
One of my main goals is to retire him and mom. And so, I remember talking to him, and I was like, hey, why do you do it? And obviously, he gave me the answer of, like I do it for you guys, and that's what keeps me going. Um, But he also told me, he's like, look, I really enjoy seeing something being built up from the ground up, being a hole in the ground, and then months, years later, being able to look back at it. He was involved in renovations of, he worked with the Welders Union, and he did renovations to Lambeau Field. He was part of, the union when they were building the Cowboy Stadium. He's done some pretty cool
Yeah,
projects.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so that just always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Getting something that's in the ground and then building it, and one day looking back and just seeing it stand. And I look at that, and in my own way I've kind of been able to do that with business, not in the same way of a building, but within teams, right?
Sure.
You look at an organization and then putting the different pieces together in such a way that what you one day come into is going to look so much different 1, 2, 3 years down the road. And when that time does come, right, when it's all said and done for that part of your life, you want to look back and you say, man, I was part of that. I'm proud for being part of that, right? Because time goes by, might as well spend it somewhere that you enjoy, but also that you feel like you made an impact.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and he's a good dude. Good dude. That's awesome. I didn't know that about him. Thank you for sharing. We're going to start wrapping this thing up. Here's what I want you to think about, okay? And you can take a second. Maybe it'll come immediately. But if God forbid we both walked out of here and this was your final moments and this was like the one thing everyone always looked back to remember you, and they'd remember you for this, what's one message you'd like to share with the rest of the world and everyone listening in?
Wow. Go there. That's a really deep one.
Yeah, take
no
a
pressure.
second. Yeah, take a second. It's okay. I
Yeah.
want you to like final thoughts, and people have to sum up who you are and what your message was to the world.
No, man, it's really not to be redundant here, but I really think that life is really about what you make of it, right?
Yeah.
I think when you take ownership of your life and you really begin to just say, hey, you know, things don't happen to me, they happen for me. And again, it's all here. It's what you invest in yourself mentally, you know, physically, that's going to open up more opportunities and a better lifestyle. And so it starts with the right mindset, like I said before. But also, you know, it's like, and this may be morbid to some people, but you just mentioned it, we're all going to die. Like that's a one guarantee in life, you know, and so might as well make it worthwhile and enjoy what you're doing. Don't sit somewhere where you don't like it. I know that this may be a little bit not the favorite thing to say it in some places, but truthfully, like in the best of ways, I'll tell people if you don't enjoy what you're doing, like don't waste your life. Like go out and look for the right place. Go out and look at something that drives you and fuels you and you're passionate about. I understand some circumstances, people just survival mode, right? But there is, as long as you believe, right? There can be something that you can do. If you have that, I just got to go to work because I got to pay these bills, you're going to be in that cycle forever. But if you're passionate about something, especially in the world we live in today, so many resources, the difference is whether you believe or you don't believe. If you believe you can achieve it, I'm a big believer that you can go get it. Not going to get it overnight.
Yeah.
But you can put yourself in a path to slowly but surely go towards that. And there's so many examples of that.
Thank you, my friend. I
course.
appreciate it. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Go check us out on YouTube and Spotify.
Oh, God.
I'll see you guys.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.